Today on The Nation Speaks, where's the beef? It's disappearing from the American diet, being replaced by fake meat from a lab. What's behind the shift and how does it affect ranchers and your health? Cattleman Texas Slim is here to explain #food intelligence. Then in America Q&A, we ask, what do you think of the current trend to eat bugs? Finally, in our second America Q&A, do you think Twitter accurately reflects public opinion? Hello and welcome to The Nation Speaks. I'm your host, Cindy Drucare. Meat alternatives are suddenly everywhere, designed to look and cook like the real thing. This cow-free Impossible Whopper contains heme, made from genetically modified yeast. It's what makes patties bleed like real meat. Then there's 3D printed fake meat. While most other meat alternatives are limited to ground beef products, Redefined Meat can print whole cuts of beef, like this flank steak. Then there's also lab-grown meat, cultured from actual stem cells of animals. It's sold as the sustainable and ethical solution for the conscious carnivore. And if you don't want to eat faux meat, you can always eat bugs. That's the big trend now, from cricket flour to gourmet mealworms. The World Economic Forum and other proponents say insects are cheap, high in protein, require little land and water, and of course, don't emit greenhouse gases like cows and pigs do. And it's not just beef. There's also faux chicken, shrimp, and an ever-growing choice of non-dairy milk options. It's all part of a global movement to take real, farm-raised animals off the table. But why? Can it save the planet? What else is there to this story? Quite a lot, according to our guest. Joining us now is Texas Slim, an at least sixth-generation Texan, a man who's going all out to promote #food intelligence. He's the founder of the Beef Initiative and also a podcast host, Substack writer, both of which you can find by searching for Texas Slim. Slim, welcome.
Hello, how are we doing today?
We are doing great, and I'm so glad to have you here.
I appreciate you having me on.
It's good to have you. So in my introduction, I gave a partial description of what you've called the war on beef, or animal protein more generally. I described mostly what the consumers can see, but there's actually a lot more to this that the general public doesn't see. Fill us in on how these trends play out for ranchers.
Well, within the, let's say, animal protein business, there's always been a move to multinational corporations to kind of control the market access of the protein that we, steward here in the United States. It's been going on for, generations now. I like to focus on like 1971, whenever we went off the gold standard, and we kind of shift our food industry at the same time. And by saying that, what we used to do is we used to feed our communities first. And within the last 5 generations or decades, what we've done was we moved into more of a global one world food group, basically, is what they like to call it. We have multinational corporations that are now in charge of our market access to the animal protein in which we grow and steward in the United States. And this has had a devastating effect on our farmers and ranchers in a multifaceted way.
So what are some of those impacts?
Well, basically, it takes the sovereignty away from the rancher. Whenever you have 4 major global processors that are multinational corporations, the rancher does not have a say-so on who he is actually feeding, who his customer is. The multinational corporations are the one that actually get to control that market access, and they basically use that beef, I'll just say beef, they get to put that beef on a global market. And so in the end, you can have like Texas raised beef that is actually being sold to China, and then you have beef that's being basically raised in either South America or Africa, and that's actually what the beef the Texans and the citizens of Texas are eating, and that's scaled down for people can understand better. So by taking that that basically consumer demand and controlling it as far as the multinational corporations do, as the processing centers are, the rancher doesn't have a say-so on that. So within the last, I'd say 10 to 15 years, we've lost probably 40% of our ranch lands in the United States, and the consumer doesn't realize that. They think that they are eating USDA prime beef that is from U.S., territory or U.S. soil, but it usually isn't.
How does this meat substitution trend that's going on impact the ranchers? So I'm assuming they're raising less beef, but maybe not if it's going to international markets. So how does all that affect that entire food chain?
Sure. As far as the psyop on fake meat, I call it a global marketing plan that was basically designed after the last major multinational global corporation consolidation, which happened in 2017 and 2018. You had a major food consolidation on the corporate level. You also had a major chemical and grain consolidation with Bayer and Monsanto. And then once that happened, basically they had their marching orders. And what it was is everybody thinks that they're going to get rid of the cow. That's not what is happening here. What they're doing is they are eliminating that market access to us, the United States, and Western citizens to have market access to that beef. And what I tell everybody is they're turning beef into caviar. They're going to try to price us out of our beef. The American citizens are the ones that are not going to be eating beef. The beef industry is going to grow. We're just not going to have market access to it because they're going to be basically giving and selling that beef to the highest bidders. And the highest bidder right now, and the people that are eating the most beef in the world right now, China and the United States. And they're introducing this fake commodity, which is the fake meat industry that they've been working on for a good decade. They have technology behind it. They have $100 billion marketing plan behind it. And you can see it creeping into everybody's purview as far as, mainstream media, the saying that the cow is bad for the environment. And it's, against the, your health guidelines, you should reduce your red meat consumption. That goes back to the basically the propaganda of cholesterol, the fat-free movement that basically has led us in the last 5 decades into basically becoming metabolically bankrupt as our nation. And they're not slowing down. It's just now getting started.
We've all been told that we need to eat less animals to preserve the climate, have less methane gas, use less land, less water. I know you don't think that's the case. You've said this is all deception. Explain that.
Well, the cow farts and the cow burps and the methane that they try to, put in there as far as one of the reasons that there is climate change going on is a CO2 argument that doesn't stand the test of time. Little do that people know that the land tools in which actually we do grow soil with, and that being, cattle themselves, is one of the best things that we can do for our environment. It replaces and it does sequester, carbon into the soil. Our soil is unhealthy right now because of the multinational chemical and grain companies that we've been basically growing and stewarding our food for the last 50 years. That's the problem. We've destroyed our soil, and they're trying to cover up the fact that we have done that with the chemicals, the herbicides, the pesticides, the genetically modified seeds. And if you look at the population of cattle in the world, India has over 324 million cattle, but they're not going to require India to participate in this. And whenever they can, back all this climate change and, the cow being a carbon hazard with that type of backing of money and marketing plans, then they can have a lot of effect. But, I'll sit down at a table, and this interview is way too short to go into the carbon argument, but it is highly deceptive. I mean, I have doctorate, PhD, biologist, the arguments there. And, I always ask people whenever you think there's climate change, well, help me understand where that basically the reporting came from. Who funded this? Follow the money. We all hear that.